Alright, guys, so this is another Patreon request, and this one comes from my good friend, the Mountain Vernon Kid. Chris, thank you for your continued patronage. And as always, if you'd like a Patreon request, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys can hit the 4th tier and send me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. Anyway, so this is one of the few requests that Chris sent me a little while ago. And this one I thought would be kind of fun to do. Since in theory Disney could do it. Like, in theory, Disney could do this as like a comic book in some capacity. Yeah, I think it would be really cool now that, Lucasfilms is under the, Lucasfilms and Marvel are under Disney. I would really love this to be an actual thing in some way. Like, why wasn't this made sooner? And this is one of my, if I was to make like a top 10 list of crossovers I would absolutely love to see happen, this would definitely be in the top 10, maybe in the top 5, and I might actually do it as an actual list in the future, who the fuck knows. Anyway, so this is a crossover idea between Captain America and Indiana Jones. I thought this would be a fun, this was a fun one to do, and it's something I have talked about in the past, but Chris asked me to do this as a Patreon request, and that's what I aim to do. So, anyway, let's get started with this story idea. So the story idea is set, I guess you could say, like, maybe at the start of the war. Like, we are just now getting into, this is now 1941. We are now in it. We are now in the war, and essentially what has happened is that agents of Hydra, led by Red Skull, have besieged the top secret. They found the location of the top secret facility that was holding all these rare items, including the Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, basically Area 51. And they have not only taken the Ark, but they've also found several other rare artifacts that are that of great value and of great power. They've raided it and are now planning to add it to the Nazi paraphernalia. They are ready to add it to the Nazi arsenal. So of course, Indiana is called into action by the U.S. government because he has knowledge of not only he not only has like direct knowledge of a lot of these items, he's also recovered a lot of these items. However, they basically say, like, since Hydra is involved and the Red Skull is involved, there has to be like a joint operation now. So, and he's like, joint operation? I thought, I'm all for doing my country, Indiana's like, I'm all for, serving my country against the Nazis, but, I kind of do this on my own, I don't need a government babysitter. And he's like, it's not so much a babysitter as it is a partner. And that's when they introduce him to Steve as Captain America. So, Steve meets in Indiana. He's like, Dr. Jones, nice to meet you. And he's also introduced to Bucky as well. So the two, so Captain America and Bucky meet Captain America, and Indiana's like, holy crap, Captain America. That's who I'm going to be working with. And they're like, yeah, we need, because Hydra's involved, and if they have something, if they have, like, not only the Ark of the Covenant and also everything else in that chest, then we are in dire straits. So, Dr. Jones, will you help us, will you help us in our hour of need? This is a major moment. So, Cap, Indiana, and Bucky, the trio set out across the globe and trying to find the artifacts that are now under the under the possession of Hydra and the Nazis. And along the way, they do encounter a lot of, like, other Captain America villains. So their first stop is North Africa, where Indy's like, this brings back a lot of memories. And he also encounters Indy and Cap encounter Baron Blood, who is has been sent to recover like this artifact of a tribal shaman, like this mask that belonged to a shaman that can control various insects and plagues and whatnot. So Cap and him have to do battle with Baron Blood. They go on to Italy, where they have to battle Armanzola, who is in possession of a staff that belonged to Moses. You know, it was the staff that belonged to Moses, and he's planning to use it to help turn the tide in the battle in Italy. They do battle with him. They basically run the whole gambit of all of it. And they even, like, I would even love to have, like, during this whole crossover, a fun moment where Cap is talking about, like, encountering the U-Men, and he's like, and Indy's like, who the hell are the U-Men? He's like, they're like renegade Atlanteans. And Indiana is immediate, and Jones is like, stop, hang on, wait, just time out for a second, just time out. You're telling me Atlantis is real? And he's like, yeah. One of my war buddies is Namor, the Prince of Atlantis. And yeah, that's the thing, is that several of the artifacts that were taken were quote unquote belonged to Atlantis, and essentially they have to they even encounter Namor, who even, like, Indiana's like, this cannot be real, like, there's no way that any of this could be in any way, shape, or form real. Like, he's trying to wrap his head around Namor and the U-Men and Atlantis the whole time. But from there, they're still, like, as they keep recovering artifact after artifact, there's still kind of one that's still, like, out of, like, they don't know where it is. Like, they generally don't know where this one has gone, and that's, of course, the Ark of the Covenant. And Indiana basically tells Steve, like, look, the last time it was opened, they literally all, like, what's kind of, like, he kind of poses, like, what would be the problem? Like, the last time the Nazis opened up the Ark of the Covenant, they all frickin' died. And and to which Steve is like, if you think the horrors of the Ark of the Covenant is going to kill a man like Johann Schmidt, then you clearly don't know him. And sure enough, that's what Schmidt is doing, is that Red Skull is basically like, he's been experimenting with the Ark of the Covenant, because he's kind of learned from the last group's mistakes. He's like, yeah, if I tried to open it right away, then literally all hell would break loose. So what he's been doing is kind of experimenting on how to use the power in like segments, like basically segmented form, and more or less trying to harness the powers from, like, in just minimal moments instead of, like, all at once. So once he gets the use of it, then they can start using it against other foes. And specifically, like, Red Skull basically says, I would love nothing more than to target, while I would love nothing more than to target, the Americans first, I think Wakanda needs a lesson on who the superior race is. So he wants to target Wakanda. So he basically says, like, yeah, I want to use the Ark first and foremost as a test run in Wakanda. So from there, basically, Skull is more or less awakening demons out of the Covenant, because it's revealed, like, through his experiment, like, through his research, Skull discovers that the Ark of the Covenant is actually like a portal into what is basically the Dark Dimension. They think it's hell, but it's really the Dark Dimension. So he's literally letting out monsters from the Dark Dimension into the real world. So when Cap and Steve finally arrive, they find him deep in the Swiss, like, very deep in the Swiss Alps, and more or less, like, just a battle breaks out between the two. I would love to have just a moment where Schmidt tries to, like, shoot Indiana, and he just gets whipped out of his hand. He's like, what bloody fucking American uses a whip in a fight? And he says, only the best damn Americans. And just whips him in the face, and just whips Skull in the face. Eat it, you Nazi prick. Yeah, I would love to have that as kind of the big climax, is them trying to stop And kind of like as a fun little like prelude to what could come next is that they're sending it to, they want to make, Schmidt makes this insane gamble that I'm just going to drop the Ark of the Covenant like a fucking bomb on Wakanda and unleash everything from that hellish dimension that it's connected to. So in a fun way, it kind of plays out like how Captain America got frozen in the ice and will be near the end of the war. And essentially what happens is that Indiana gets on the plane and like forces it to land. Like he crash lands it and sends the Ark, because it gets far over, like out of the Swiss Alps and over the somewhere over the ocean, and he forces the plane to, he ejects, sends the plane deep into the ocean, and furthest point of the Ark of the Covenant is now at the bottom of the sea. So Schmidt, Skull, however you want to call him, gets away, but the Ark is kept out of everyone's hands now, because Indiana is like, yeah, there's no way we can have that in anyone's hand, the Allies or the enemy's hands. We'll just say it was destroyed on accident. And Steve is like, yeah, like even he knows like it would be too dangerous even in the Allies' hands. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much my Captain America Indiana Jones story. I'd like to thank Mount Vernon Kid for this video. Once again, thank you so much, Chris, for this and your continued patronage. And like I said earlier, if you'd like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below. Head on over to my Patreon. Other than that, I am Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.